Something utterly devastating is happening to the Democrat Party as they try to squeeze every last seat they can possibly get through their own desperate gerrymandering antics. At the very same time, the DNC is literally bankrupt. All the while, their polling is their lowest levels ever. That's not an accident. That's not bad luck. It's not a rough patch. It's the direct result of what Donald Trump has been doing to the system that's kept the Democrat Party on life support until now. Make sure to stick with me to the very end of this video because I'm going to show you it's not just about money. It's about structural dominance. It's about coalitional realignment. It's about the systematic, methodical transformation of the grand old party into the most formidable political machine this country has ever seen. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, enjoying yet another glorious day in the Trumpian golden age that you made possible back in November of 2024. So if you want a front row seat on how you continue to change the world in ways you never even imagined, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, real quick, inside our Courageous Patriot Club, you're not guessing what I think. You get to ask me directly in our live Monday night Q&As where I answer every question you can think of. You also get exclusive members-only videos from me that never make it to YouTube or any public platform. Click below and join the club now to support this channel and be part of this wonderful inner circle community. All right, let's dive right in here, gang. Let's start with some of the latest polling because Trump and the GOP are actually crushing it here. According to the latest from Quinnipiac, Trump has actually gained support among Republicans over the past month. I know that might be news to someone like Tucker Carlson, but it's true. Between March and April, his approval climbed from roughly 72% to around 81%. So 8 in 10 Republicans are solidly behind Trump. That mirrors a YouGov poll that shows Trump moving from 81% to 84% approval during that same time period. So with all of this infighting among the podcast pessimists, support for Trump is actually growing among Republicans. He's only strengthening his grip over the party. According to the latest NBC poll, when Republicans were asked if they identify more as MAGA or more with just the Republican Party in general, look at this, 53% say MAGA, 47% say the Republican Party. YouGov found the percentage is even higher. It's over 60% who now identify as MAGA. MAGA is now, according to multiple polls, the Republican Party. There's no way around that. As for the GOP itself, take a look at the latest Morning Consult generic ballot poll. The Republicans are within 3 points of the Democrats, 45 to 42. Now, make no mistake, in a midterm year, that is absolutely devastating for the Democrats. They should be up by double digits now. They were in 2018. This time in that election, the Democrats were beating the Republicans by double digits in the generic ballot. And they went on to win 40 seats, even though actually the GOP actually picked up 2 seats in the Senate. Only the 5th time the party in power over the last century has done that. And if that was also the same year Florida officially turned red, solid red with Ron DeSantis. So even with the Democrats opening up a double-digit lead over the Republicans at this time in the 2018 midterms, they still struggled. They struggled in the Senate, and they struggled big time in Florida. And of course, things have only gotten worse for them there in the Sunshine State. Now, of course, this is all good news for sure, but we don't want to miss the deeper issue here of what Trump has done to secure polling numbers like this. What Donald Trump has done is not just beat the Democrats in 1 election or 2 elections or even 3. What he's done is he's fundamentally restructured the political economy of American politics. He's rewritten the rules of who gives money, who shows up, who registers, who votes, and he's done it in ways that are going to compound for decades. And the clearest, most irrefutable proof of that are the latest numbers coming out of the Federal Election Commission right now. They are absolutely staggering. So let's start there. So let's talk fundraising, because this is where the story really gets mind-blowing. By the end of 2025, and these are hard FEC filing numbers, not spin, The RNC raised $172 million. Now, the DNC raised $145 million, so they're running around saying, we're almost as competitive as you are. But the catch is the DNC spent $154 million. They spent more than they raised. And again, keep in mind, this is largely because of the Doge efforts that shut down USAID and the slush fund that the Democrats were raiding from our own taxpayer monies to fund their own coffers. They went into 2026, a midterm election year, the most important year in the cycle outside of the presidential, with just $14 million in the bank. They were $17.5 million in debt. These are the Democrats. This is the DNC. They're literally operating in the red. They took out a $15 million loan just to fund their governor's races in Virginia and New Jersey. Alone. The DNC took out a loan to run 2 campaigns. Now, contrast that with the RNC. They closed 2025 with nearly $100 million in the bank, no debt, zero. And by March of this year, that gap has widened even further. The RNC is now nearly $110 million in cash versus the DNC's $15.9 million. It's nearly a 7-to-1 cash advantage. And then just last week, the NRCC, that's the House Republicans campaign arm, dropped their first quarter 2026 fundraising numbers. It's a record $47.1 million in a single quarter. The best March ever. So that brings their total for this cycle to $164.4 million, with $78.2 million in cash on hand heading into the final stretch before November. So congressional Republicans have now outraised Democrats on average for 5 straight quarters. And here's the kicker. It's the first time in a decade that Republicans have outraised House Democrats' campaign arm in the first year of an election cycle. First time in 10 years. So when the media tells you the Democrats are energized, remember, you can't run ads without money. You can't hire field organizers without money. You can't do voter outreach without money. And right now, the Republican Party is awash in cash. They got a cash advantage so large it's almost embarrassing. And again, largely because of the efforts of Donald Trump and Doge to stop the Democrats from raiding U.S. taxpayer funds for their own benefit. But all of this is just the tip of the iceberg. Wait until you see the partisan realignment that promises to change politics for the foreseeable future. But first, gang, let's face it. You had a number in your head, right? The number you thought would be enough to retire. And then the price of life went up and up and up. And now the question isn't whether you saved, it's whether what you saved can still buy the retirement you planned for. I mean, think about what's happening right now. War flaring up, oil spikes, and then everything gets higher. Gas, groceries, insurance, bills. We've seen this before. We're watching a structural shift in the global economy where inflation isn't temporary. It's embedded. And historically, when that happens, purchasing power doesn't recover. It erodes. Your dollar buys less. Your savings carry less. And people who are counting down to retirement, they start wondering if they got to push it back, all because the cost of living moved the finish line. That was my wake-up call. I knew there had to be something else I could do to protect what I built. So I researched, and that's when I found Augusta Precious Metals. And gang, they taught me things I didn't even know were possible. I had no idea you could move your IRA or 401k into physical gold, tax-free, penalty-free, a real asset that's held its value through war, oil spikes, and market chaos. And that changed everything for me. I've spoken with Augusta's education team. These guys know their stuff, and they explain it so clearly. So here's what I recommend you do right now. Go to turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052 to get Augusta's free gold IRA guide. That's turleybuysgold.com or text Turley to 35052 because the retirement you dreamed of is still possible, but only if you protect it. There is nothing less than a voter registration earthquake that is genuinely seismic, and it promises to change literally everything. A major New York Times analysis of voter registration records across 30 different states found something remarkable. From 2020 to 2024, Democrats lost 2.1 million registered voters. Republicans gained 2.4 million. That's a 4.5 million voter swing in the Republican direction in just 4 years. And by the way, that swing has only increased since then. 2 states have flipped, North Carolina and Nevada. They are now both officially majority registered Republican states. Pennsylvania isn't far behind. Even in New York, deep blue New York, Democrats lost over 100,000 enrollees in a single year while Republican enrollment grew. I mean, this is utterly tectonic. It's not a blip. It's a structural realignment of the American electorate, and it's happening right now on Donald Trump's watch. We're going to see precisely why. Someone else who's watching this is Harry Enton of CNN. He found that Trump's approval rating among the single most likely voters in the nation is the highest for any president in the 21st century at this stage of their second term.
So how does that number 44% compare historically to other presidents?
Okay, this is where it gets even more interesting. It turns out if you look at all the 21st century second-term presidents and you look at senior citizens, Trump actually has the best approval rating at this point in the second term of all of them. Donald Trump at 44%. Obama was under 40% at 39%. George W. Bush was way down there at 34%. So Donald Trump is beating other presidents this century at this point in their second term, beating all of them. And therefore, as I said, holding his own amongst a very key voting bloc. The President of the United States and the White House should like this number, especially compared to Obama, who Trump, of course, always likes to beat.
Trump always likes to beat Obama because he stole Obama's coalition. Obama's coalition of white working class voters and Latino voters have all largely defected over to Trump, and that's very, very intentional. That's the key to Trump's master plan here. Trump hasn't just won elections. He's fundamentally restructured what the Republican Party is and who it represents. Think about this. In 2012, Mitt Romney lost because Republicans couldn't win working class voters in the industrial Midwest. They couldn't compete with minority voters, and they were hemorrhaging young men, right? The infamous RNC autopsy after 2012 said the party needed to move left on immigration, left on social issues, and they needed to be softer on trade. Trump did the exact opposite of the autopsy, and he built a bigger coalition. So today's Republican Party is the party of the working class. It's the party of Latino voters in South Texas and Miami and Nevada. It's the party of black men in cities like Detroit and Philadelphia who've watched Democrat promises evaporate for 50 years. And it's the party of Gen Z men, where Democrat registration among young white men has collapsed from 49% down to just 29%. That's not a blip. That's a generational shift. And crucially, it's the party of small donors now. So when Democrats talk about grassroots energy, they mean a reactive burst of outrage money after the latest news cycle. They mean a big plop of money from George Soros. But when Republicans talk about grassroots energy, they mean 1.2 million unique donors making 23 million individual contributions in a single year. That's a party that's been rebuilt from the ground up around a different kind of voter, a different kind of donor, a different kind of coalition. And that takes years to reverse. So let's put this all together. So what we're looking at is not just a party that won an election. What we're looking at is a party that's achieved something rarer and far more durable: structural dominance, a nearly 7-1 cash advantage at the national party level, a voter registration swing of 4.5 million in the Republican direction, a senior voter base holding at historic approval levels, a Gen Z male cohort trending Republican for the first time in the modern era, and small dollar grassroots fundraising that's grown 60% in 4 years. And at the center of it all, the architect of all of it, is Donald J. Trump, because he understood something profound that the Republican establishment had forgotten: and the Democrats had never truly grasped. People don't give money and time and votes to a party. They give it to a movement. They give it to a cause. And they give it to a man who fights for them. That's what he built. And the numbers, the cold, hard FEC filed numbers, prove it. If you love seeing faith, family, and freedom winning again, you'll love Turley Clips. These are short, uplifting highlights from our show filled with stories of renewal, courage, and hope that prove a new conservative age is rising every single day. Subscribe to Turley Clips today and stay inspired, encouraged, and connected to a movement that's building a brighter future.